my entire friend group, maybe 2 of them I could potentially live with and not kill. How I moved out with no money. What? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angelina if you guys are new here. If you're not new here, what's up? You guys know that I've been moved out for some time now. I'm sorry if the lighting changes. I'm just sitting in front of the window today, but I have been moved out for some time, so I just wanted to film this video and give you guys some advice, some tips and tricks, and just things that I personally did that I feel like maybe things that I wish I would have known before I moved out. So also something that I want to say is that I know there's videos on YouTube that's like, how I moved out with no money. What? Like, you cannot be listening to all of these YouTubers tell you about how they moved out with no money and suddenly they're living in a luxury apartment. Like, chances are, sis, that's not gonna happen. So you wanna make sure that you are picking an apartment that's within your budget. So set a range that you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for $600 to $700 a month, and that is it. That's your range. Like I said, this is not the time for you to be having a luxury ass condo. It's not gonna be like this Tumblr apartment. It's not gonna be like a YouTuber's apartment. It's not gonna be Tana Mojo's apartment, you know? Because you have to keep it realistic. Like, that's not your price range, that's not your tax bracket, and it ain't you. So the first thing that you have to do when you want to move out is, first of all, it's really obvious, you want to make sure that you have enough money saved. There's a rule of thumb that you want to follow where if you can buy something twice, then that means you can afford it. Pretend your rent is $600. By the way, I don't know anywhere where the rent is $600. If you know, please let me know. If you can afford to pay $600 twice, then it's something that you can afford. I did work all throughout high school. I worked since 8th grade. I've had a job, and I wasn't really the best at saving, but I still had money saved. It's better than nothing. And so you want to make sure that you can actually afford it. If you know you are paying 100% of your rent all of the time, if your parents are not supporting you, then you really want to make sure that it's something that you can afford. So if you are really bad at saving, like I know some people are really bad at saving, I normally did this thing where I would save half of my paycheck and then use the other half. So it was like a 50-50 rule, but keep in mind at this time I'm in high school, I don't really have bills. Like, I got a scholarship to go to college, so the only thing I really had to pay for was my rent. Obviously, if you have bills to pay, then you might not be able to do that like I did, but make sure that you have like a proper breakdown. I also wanted to show you guys this app. No, this video is not sponsored. I feel like if you're bad at saving, this is a really good app to have. So basically, you are able to create little like saving goals. And right now I have one thing that says just start saving, and I just recently started it, and it has $1.45 in it. But I want to tell you guys why this app is so great. So you can set up different rules when it comes to saving. So for example, mine is connected to my bank account and my debit card. So anytime I swipe my debit card, it automatically rounds up what I spend, and the amount that gets rounded up is what goes into this separate savings account. So I know that's kind of confusing, so let me break it down. So if I spent, let's pretend I spent 75 cents on a pack of gum, I don't know, and I swiped my debit card at Publix, and that's what it came up to. So the remaining 25 cents that it would take to get to $1 is what goes into the savings account. So obviously you're like, bro, 25 cents, like what the hell, I'm trying to move out, like what the hell is 25 cents gonna do? But keep in mind, you probably swipe your debit card, at least I know I do. I swipe my debit card so many times a day that while you're swiping and it's just rounding up to the next dollar, all of those cents accumulate over time. For me, it's really easy to save that way because I'm not consciously taking things out of my bank account and putting it into a savings account. Because when I normally do that, I will transfer from my checkings to my savings, to my savings to my checking. Then I'm like, oh, I wanna go clubbing. Then I take $50 from my savings, I move it to my checking, and it's a whole ass mess. Just don't even. If you know you're someone who cannot discipline yourself enough to not touch your savings, I recommend using this app. So that's the rule that I use. There's also other rules. So the app has so many different rules that you can set up to to help you save. And another one is it takes a portion out of your paycheck every month. There's another one that's weekly, so I believe it's called the 52 rule or something, but the first week it'll deposit $1 into your savings, then the next week it'll deposit $2 into the savings, and it keeps going up. I've used that one before as well, but for me this is the best way to save money because I don't have to consciously do it myself. And unfortunately, like so many of us, we just don't have really good discipline when it comes to saving. So I recommend this app called Capital. It's the only app that I use for savings, and I'll leave my code down below for you guys to download it. I'll probably put it on the screen as well. But if you use my code, I believe you get $10 and I get $10. And so you don't have to use my code, but it would be really nice, so use my code. Also, this other app I want to talk to you guys about, it's called SWEATCOIN, and basically you get paid to walk. So today I have 351 steps because it's only 12 o'clock and I didn't really do much. But every single day, it pretty much, depending on how much you walk, it will just add these sweat coins into your account. And eventually, once you accumulate enough sweat coins, you're able to redeem them for prizes. There's also cash prizes. So I will also have a link to my sweat coin longitudinal thing. Do not think that once you download this walking for money app that you're gonna be able to walk for a month and then suddenly have $300. Like, it doesn't work like that. But I think this is something nice to just have on your phone because, like I said, subconsciously saving is the best way to do it, especially if you're young and you just can't save and it just is hard. Have a job. So you want to make sure that you're either having a steady income, that way you're able to save. You make sure that you have like a consistent source of income. So if you don't have savings or you haven't saved enough to, you know, keep you going, for the most part, like I said, have at least 6 months saved. But you know, once you move in, you're kind of set. Like, you have 6 months to be making money. So for the next 6 months, you have rent. Like I said, all through high school, I worked as a tutor and I was able to save that money. But I also had side hustles. So my side hustle is YouTube and Instagram. And sometimes here and there, I'll do sponsored videos and sponsored posts. So that's how I was able to save my money. And to this day, even being in college, it's something that I do. Sometimes I will do sponsored videos. And it's just like, you know, YouTube to me is kind of a job as well. So even though it's more fun and it's something I'd rather be doing, it was like my hobby was also kind of like a job. So that was something that really helped me in the long run, and it's something that I'm really proud of. And you know, so when moving out, you want to make sure you pay attention to what kind of lease that the apartment complex is offering. What I mean by this is, I live close to college campus, and a lot of you guys that want to move out that are 18, 19, you probably are trying to move closer to campus. Most of the time when you're moving towards campus, a lot of times you will have to sign an individual lease, but you'll still have to be living with roommates. You're sharing the living room, you're sharing sometimes potentially you could be sharing a bathroom. You still have your own individual lease. You're responsible for your room and your bathroom if that's a part of your lease. But you're also responsible for sharing the other amenities in your unit, if that makes sense. But there is the possibility that you could be signing a lease in a place where they won't be finding you roommates. And you know, you could maybe want to be living by yourself. Personally, I would not recommend that, only because you're not just paying rent. You're paying electricity, you're paying water bills, you're paying for the trash. Some places do have a trash fee as well. Like, and it might sound so great, like, oh, $25 a month. And you're like, oh, $25, not a big deal. But in reality, it does accumulate. So make sure that you want to know what kind of lease you're signing. Where I live, student housing, they find roommates for me, which is actually really helpful. And I recommend living in a place where they find roommates for you, because in that sense, if a room, you know, if a room is vacant, they'll just find someone to fill it. And it's really easy because it keeps the burden like off of you. If you are moving to a place with a single lease and you want to move in with somebody else, just make sure that the 2 of you or the 3 of you, how many of you guys are living together, just make sure that you guys are aware of who, like the responsibilities, how you're gonna divide the rent, how you're gonna divide the electricity, etc., etc. I prefer student housing living if you are going to college, if you're living near college campuses, because most of the time student housing will find your roommates and you're only responsible for your part of the lease, which is usually just your room and your bathroom. Usually if you are 18 or, you know, kind of on the lower end, you're a little bit younger, guarantor will have to sign the lease with you, just because you're probably not making like 6 figures. Apartment complex will not see you as being capable of being 100% responsible for your rent or your lease or whatever. So you want to make sure that you have a guarantor with you if you are younger, because usually you'll sign one section of the lease and they'll sign the other half, basically stating that if you can't afford it or if something goes wrong, not only you're responsible, but they're also responsible. If you are wanting to move out, make sure that your parents also know that it's not just you that's going to be responsible, it's also going to be them. And honestly, you want to make sure that you're paying your rent on time, because yes, obviously, like, it's your responsibility, but at the same time, if you don't do it, you can mess up your credit, and you're probably 18, you're probably 19, you probably don't care about your credit right now, but in the future, when you're trying to buy a house, you want to take out a loan, it's really important. So now it could be for 6 months, it could be for 12 months. That's usually like the most common type of lease that you'll find. For example, when I first signed my lease, it was for 6 months, and I just re-signed it recently, and it's for a year. So you want to make sure that on the lease you're able to see the rate that they're giving you, and the rate is usually what you're going to be paying monthly for rent. The way that it should work is that, let's pretend you're paying $600 every month for rent. For those next 6 months that you just signed for, it's going to be $600 and it's not going to increase. But you want to make sure that that's the kind of lease that you're signing, because some apartment complexes will switch up on you, and you could be signing for 6 months of your rate being $600, and then they'll increase the rate for the next 6 months, and suddenly it's $700 a month. So you want to make sure that you are keeping on top of what you're signing for. Also, when signing the lease, you want to make sure that you know if the apartment is furnished or not. So if an apartment is furnished, usually they'll provide some furniture for you. So like, for example, my apartment was furnished, so it came with a couch, it came with bar stools, it came with a mattress, a desk. That's something that you want to make sure you know, because if it's not furnished, then you're responsible for providing your own furniture, and honestly, furniture is expensive. And looking for apartments, you want to make sure that you know what amenities comes with you signing your lease. So something that I knew that I really wanted was a gym, but also keep in mind there are things like 24-hour security that some places offer, because safety is the most important part. Honestly, like you might find a place that's $100 cheaper, but in the end, is it safe? Like, you really want to make sure you pay attention to all of these things. Make sure you know if the area is safe. Make sure that you're looking up reviews for the apartment complex. Maybe you have friends that live in the complex, stuff like that. Also, I heard that you should always visit a complex after dark just to see what's poppin'. Like, is it actually safe? Because honestly, if you're going to the leasing office, they're going to only show you the best things. They're gonna probably show you like a model unit, and the model unit is the nicest unit. It's probably decorated by an interior designer, and it looks really poppin'. It's really clean, the AC works, the windows aren't broken, you know, stuff like that. Keep in mind that the model unit that they show you is like the best of the best, and you know, you have to really know what the actual unit looks like. And unfortunately, sometimes they won't let you see that until move-in day. I used to work in my apartment's leasing office when I moved in. They'll try to make everything seem perfect, and working there, I knew that a lot of things were not perfect. For example, in my old complex, the management would never do anything. They would never, someone's AC was broken for 2 weeks and they literally did not do anything. Find somebody at the leasing office. A lot of times students will work in the leasing office if you're doing student housing, and just be like, hey Karen, what's up? Like, let me know, should I sign my lease here or not? Like, try to like feel them out. I will say moving out is probably one of the best things I've done. It's made me really independent, but also at the same time, if you are moving out, understand that you're responsible for getting groceries, cooking and feeding yourself, cleaning up for yourself, and if you're living with roommates, you're gonna be responsible for like getting along with your roommates as well. Just make sure that you understand responsibilities once you're moving out, because it's a whole different ballgame. Like my mom can't cook for me anymore and she can't fold my laundry, and I had to learn how to do laundry because I didn't know how to do that before. So just make sure you keep all of these things in mind. If you do have other expenses and you're just trying to move out because you want freedom, understand that like living at your parents' house is definitely going to be the cheapest thing to do, because if you're from a brown household like I am, like my mom cooks, she buys the groceries, I occasionally will help clean and stuff like that, but for the most part it's a lot easier and it's a lot less responsibility living at home. You know, everything's not just on me. But when you are moved out, you have a lot more responsibility, and for example, you have to pay your rent on time. So I have something set up in my calendar on the 1st of every month. It tells me to pay my rent. I don't know, you have a maintenance problem, then you have to call maintenance yourself, you know? So there's a lot of things that you have to do. And that's the tea. Okay, when it comes to finding a roommate, I know your first choice is gonna be, I want to live with one of my friends. I want to live with my best friend from high school. I would not recommend living with your friends because honestly, sis, honestly, living with your friends takes away the fun of having the friendship, because living with someone is so different than being friends with someone or dating someone or whatever. Because living with them, you're dealing with them every day. It's not just about if you guys get along, it's about how clean they are, how responsible they are, if they help you around the apartment, what your habits are like is really important. Maybe you like to go to bed at 10 and that person likes to go to bed at 3 a.m. and have house parties. You're not gonna have a good living situation at the end of the day. Live with someone who has similar tactics to you, and they might not be your best friend. I can say that, I don't know, there's probably out of my entire friend group, maybe 2 of them I could potentially live with and not kill. It's harder to be upfront with a friend. Like if someone didn't pay their rent, it's gonna be really hard for you to go up to your BFF Nancy and be like, hey, like I think you should pay the rent, you know? But if it's someone that you aren't super close to, then it'll be easier to say that. Those are my recommendations. That's all of my tips. If you guys have any questions, don't forget to comment them down below. I'll do my best to respond, or maybe I'll make a part 2 of this video if you guys like it. So those are all my tips. And I'll see you guys in my next video.